What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the mother-loving geek nation? You're currently tuning into the sweltering, even though it's October, CultPop Podcast, episode 46, a show where we talk about comics and movies and not tapping on our table. And also, why doesn't every Jedi have 2 goddamn lightsabers? And all the other things that scratch your nerdy itch. We're coming to you live from the Yunk Junk HQ, a bomb-ass podcast production space in Manayunk, PA.
No, I've seen other shows that are produced here with the little Young Junk sign.
There it is.
And
It's over there now.
Oh yeah, Mooch. This is brand new.
Yeah. Young Junk. I'm JD from Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street. It's a comic book store. We will sell you comic books if you buy them. Oh, by the way, we got books for you at the shop. Come pick them up.
But I have to buy them, right?
You have a job now, so
Yeah, that's true.
congrats.
But I still don't really understand the money thing.
We're working on it.
Cool.
With me this week is Brian.
Hi. I have thoughts about that 2 lightsaber why not question, which is one that I've wondered as well. You want to hear him right now?
No.
Okay.
Wait.
I didn't think so.
With me this week also is Noel.
Hi, how's it going? It's great to be back. I don't think you need to pigeonhole someone's skill set like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lightsaber.
Yeah.
Do you think that 2 light? No, we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
Is 2 lightsabers a handicap or like a skill?
I think
Dexterity-wise?
there's no yes or no answer to that question,
Yeah,
JD. We need to talk about that a little bit.
It's pigeonholing someone's specific skill set.
Len,
Yes,
you're
What do
also with me this week.
I am.
Tell the people more.
I'm here.
You do the Len the Bad Tribble, holler at your boy, and you do the kiss.
Wait,
What's up?
Are you doing it for him?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
Len the Bad Tribble, holler at your boy, kissy face. Was that cool? Did I do it? We're here to talk about 2 things. Well, we're going to do 3, but we don't have any letters. So 2 things. One of them is going to be the Ahsoka season 1 that just dropped and finished on Disney Plus. And then we're also going to be talking about a new show that just dropped out of nowhere. I had no idea it was even coming.
Oh, really?
And I went onto Prime and I was like, oh, what's this Gen V? Oh, it's The Boys. So it's Gen V, a new show that just dropped 3 episodes that ties into the world of The Boys on Amazon Prime. One of my favorite superhero shows that's currently running. But hey, Len,
Yes.
why don't you ask Noel what he's been up to this week, huh?
Hey, Noel.
Yes.
What have you been up to? Huh?
Just this week, or is
Well,
it
you
an
have been
open-ended
for a
question?
minute. Fill us in.
Piece of shit.
Catch us up.
I've been sick and busy, but I'm wellish now, and not contagious. Yeah, don't roll away. Love me. What I've been up to this week, I went to the movies for the first time in many weeks. I have a condition where I start to no, it's not contagious. At least so we know of. Yeah,
All you.
where
you've
I
been
start to
sick in a
I
way,
start
and
to
you have a
emotion
condition.
I start to emotionally shrivel up, and my vision becomes really blurred and narrowed. If I don't go to the movies at least like once every 2 to 3 weeks.
That happens to me every time I get out of a pool.
Really? BP.
Wait, how long are you staying underwater?
No, I find the movie going experience pretty medicinal. I need to go often, and I will
love
go alone and just like be there in the dark. So I finally got a chance to go to the movies after being sick for a while, and I went and saw The Creator. Yeah, I saw it in IMAX.
Now that's the one that I'm always confusing with Rebel Moon, right?
Yes.
It's another one. It's supposed to be like, it's kind of like a Star Wars, right?
No, it's kind of like a District 9.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whereas Rebel
I like
Moon is kind of like a.
Oh, by
kinda
the way,
like a
Dylan's
Star
in the
Wars.
booth. Going,
Hey!
Is it?
He's the Dr. Dre.
Hell yeah! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it space related at all?
Tangentially, yeah. It's written and directed by Gareth Edwards,
Oh, I know that name.
who is
Something.
responsible for Godzilla and Rogue One.
Oh.
Well, part of the creative teams that are responsible for both.
Yeah.
So I was very excited about it. It is a story about essentially humanity's war against AI. AI manifests as an actual robots with thoughts, feelings, and minds. And America, the Western world, is fighting a war with the rest of the world, specifically New Asia. I believe they call it New Asia, who allow and have freedom for AI.
Okay.
And then shit goes crazy from there.
Of course.
It's the aesthetic of Rogue One and District 9. Starring John David Washington, right?
Yes.
He's
Who
so good
is this?
in everything.
What would we know him from?
Ballers, if you've ever seen that. No.
Would
Nope.
not.
He was in Ballers. He was in what was the Chris Nolan
Tenet?
movie? Yeah, Tenet. He was in Tenet.
Oh, was he the main guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
I can picture him.
he's Denzel Washington's son.
Oh,
is that
cool.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Word.
He's very good. But yeah, you follow this character throughout the whole thing. Did I like it? I think so. Probably.
Okay.
A bit. Do you ever watch a TV show and you think like, God, this should have just been a movie because it was just a lot of fluff?
Mm-hmm.
It should have been a TV show.
Because it's a little bit too much.
It was too much, and they yada-yada'd a lot. To
What's
like
that phrase
get
you
there.
use? It's like a 10-pound bag.
You know what though? It wasn't paced poorly. Usually that's like when a movie is just like boom, 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 boom. It's just there was so much detail and so many like plot points that I wish they had time for, as opposed to rushing through things. Because there were like big old swaths of like a character gets a hole blown through their chest, and then 4 scenes later they're smiling in a reaction shot, and you're like, did we see what happened to them? Did they die? Like there's a lot of like really, it's like they speed rounded a larger story.
Interesting.
So like it was good and I enjoyed it, but it just also left me a little empty.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Like it was very, very pretty, and it was I think you will love it.
Yeah, it
Brian.
sounds cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like, looking at the trailer, it looks stunning.
it is a very pretty movie. Like I guess it only cost like 80 million, but
Really?
it looks like a $200-300 million movie.
Yeah.
And they filmed it just using like guerrilla style, just using like commercially available cameras, and just went to town. It was very
he's
cool.
pretty good with it. Buddy.
I love him. He's great. I've liked all of his movies to varying degrees, and this movie was definitely worth seeing. But I've seen people call it like one of the top 10 sci-fi experiences in the last decade, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I feel like those people all skipped Dune. I feel like they all skipped like 4 or 5 other movies that come to mind first. But it was still really worth seeing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Sushan and I, because we thought we were going to be doing it for this show to talk about it, and I was going to go see it, so I had to see it without Sushan. But since we changed tactics and we're talking about the other things, we're very excited to go see it together. We just have to find a babysitter.
You'll like it. It's
Yeah,
good.
I'm stoked. She's looking forward to it too. Hey, Brian,
What's up?
what you been up to this week, huh?
Oh, what have I been up to? Interesting. I was watching something called Reservoir Dogs.
Reservation Dogs.
Yeah,
I
didn't
was
know.
gonna say.
I do that not infrequently when
Yeah.
talking about this show. But Reservation Dogs is what I watched.
There it is.
And it's on FX,
FX on Hulu.
Yeah, that's right. And wait, probably should have looked up. Sterling is the first name of the guy that created it, and I forget his last name. Anyway, it's a brilliant show. It's been on for 3 seasons. This is the final season, as planned by him. It's a coming of age story, Bildungsroman, and although I think you have to go on a journey. Anyway, they do go on a journey. It's like it draws you into this world, this native community. It starts out in season 1 with this group of like 4 teenagers who lost the 5th of their group, their friend, to suicide, and they want to go to California because that was his dream, right? And it starts out with these 4, and then over the course of the seasons, you learn about other generations in this native community. And by the final season, you've seen them, you learn something about their parents, and then their, I guess, grandparents' generation, although none of them are their grandparents mostly. It's a like really heartwarming story about the growth of these 4 kids' friendship and their ties to the community. And it's got some magical realism in it, right? It's not that much of the story, but it's important to the story. Like the one guy sees William Knifeman, who is a Native American who comes by, and he died in the Battle of Little Bighorn by like his horse fell over and he died before the battle started, right?
Bummer.
So he's like, I mean, but he has a a role now, a
Sure,
path
yeah,
now, right?
yeah.
He's a spirit and he's helping them along, and you see the deer lady who avenges or kills mostly men who hurt people, and there's a lot of that kind of spirit stuff, but it's woven in like this real world.
Yeah.
And
Is it a comedy?
it's
Dramedy?
funny, but it's also very dramatic.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's mostly
I would say so.
promoted as a
Especially-
drama.
Yeah, especially as it's gone on. Right. In the beginning, it was a little funnier, and William Knifeman is funny, and he continues to be like a bright presence in the show. But the names of the people who
Creators.
created it, which just came to me: Sterling Harjo Harjo, I don't know, Harjo, and Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the kids do really well, and the adults do really well. It's just like this independent movie kind of TV show that goes for 3 seasons, and it's brilliant. You guys should watch it.
Is it related at all to Reservoir Dogs? Like the reason it's called
There's a
Reservation
visual-
It has
Dogs?
nothing to
visual-
do with it.
There's
No.
a visual joke at the first episode.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
about-
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
may-
It's not an accident.
They may like there is enough movie history steeped in the show by
Yeah.
various cultures, which is not a big part of the show at all, but that those kids may have called themselves that
Okay.
because they live on the reservation and they know about this movie and
Yeah,
it's cool.
that's what I'm.
you know,
That's what I
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
figured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I keep meaning to check it out. I like Taika Waititi. I just so many things hit my palate first, and I'm just like, oh, I'm going to watch this other thing instead. Yeah. Even I think I've actually gone to watch it, but then something came up quicker that I was like, ooh, and I just pressed that button instead.
Well, it starts off really good, and then by the end, it's like, not a completely different thing, but this whole other field, this evolution of the show.
Yeah.
So, I think you'll like it from the beginning, but if not, don't watch it. But there's there's so much stuff to watch out there, but it does deepen so much over the course of this show. So
Yeah,
if you're intrigued, I think it will really pay off for you. Yeah.
I've been up to some stuff.
What is it?
And I thought Noel has been on this train with me. So most of us are here big comic book people. And I like Robert
Comics.
Kirkman. So if you're not reading comics, you may know Robert Kirkman as being the creator of The Walking Dead and Invincible, which is also now a show on Prime. And any other big things that he's done?
Comic wise, or like
Just like
that
people
would
would know
cross
if they
over.
don't know.
I think those are the
big
two big
those are the
things.
biggest
Yeah.
things that crossed over.
Well, he's kind of famous in the retailer groups because he'll just send us retailers surprises. He's always kind of keeping us on our toes, which is rare. No one else really does what he does. He just ended Walking Dead without telling anybody. Like normally the solicits is like, oh, this is the final episode, the final issue of The Walking Dead. He did not do that. In fact, he went so far as to have the cover artist create fake covers to be solicited after, just so that we didn't suspect, like, oh, there's no episode coming out 2 months from now? Weird.
And there wasn't there like Blood Rain comic or something like that? Like he just
Yeah, he
randomly
just put
sent out a new
like
comic.
a 90s comic.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. So he likes to play with us, keep us on our toes, and I think it's delightful, and it brings a sense of fun to running a comic book store. And one of the things he's doing right now is he created a new series that was going to be coming out called Void Rivals, and I didn't really think much of it because he had also done another book previously with the same creator, De
Oblivion
Felici.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, De Felici.
De Felici called Oblivion Song, which takes place in Philadelphia. And I didn't really have a lot of subscribers for that. So I didn't really anticipate ordering a bunch of Void Rivals #1. Long story short, turns out Void Rivals is actually the backdoor entryway into a shared universe. Am I using that phrase correctly?
It's kind of like a front door in this case,
yeah.
right? That you didn't know what was behind the door.
There was rumors. Let's go even further back. For a couple of months, over a year ago, IDW, who was who owned the publication rights for some large IP, namely Transformers and G.I. Joe. I think they still have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're big deals. They were leaving IDW, and then the whole the rumors in the space were just like, who's gonna publish Transformers comic books, G.I. Joe comic books, and then the rumors were that Skybound, Robert Kirkman's company, bought it, but no one would confirm a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. And it was just like, maybe we'll see. But then they announced this other comic that wasn't really catching the world by storm when they announced it. So they set up retailer meetings.
Yeah, so we had a Zoom meeting with Robert Kirkman, a bunch of retailers, so he could be like, hey, y'all, shut up, but this is what is actually going to be happening. So that helped me to know, I should probably order a lot of Void Rivals #1. And I did. And it was an entryway into a shared universe with Transformers and G.I. Joe and this series, which is each one standalone, but in the same universe for now, called Void Rivals.
Yeah,
it's been awesome.
A fun comic book, and then in one scene, Jetfire is there and then leaves.
Yeah.
Who is a
It's
Transformer.
literally like 2 pages.
It's nothing. It's like the nothingest cameo. But then every issue subsequently has kind of had a background cameo just to remind you, like, this is actually a shared space.
Yeah.
So like they get
like the quintessence.
Yeah, they're
remember
at a
those guys
prison.
from the Transformers movie from the 80s.
Yeah, and one of the it's very well done. It's like servicey without being servicey at all because the actual story in Void Rivals is very interesting as it is.
It by itself is very good.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, it's the same world as the same universe as Transformers. It's called the Energon universe, I should say, the shared universe. So now there's Void Rivals. Transformers #1 just dropped today by one of my favorite creators, Daniel Warren Johnson, who, if you have not read Murder Falcon or Do a Power Bomb or Wonder Woman Dead Earth or
Ghost Fleet or Extremity or
Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill, yeah.
He is a favorite.
They're all
bangers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No bad stories.
Yeah, and so now he's doing Transformers, the series, and coming soon is a Cobra Commander series and a Duke series. So I just wanted to put that in your ear. If you like Transformers, if you like G.I. Joe, if you like Robert Kirkman, you should be checking out these books because they've been a bucket of fun.
Also, if you've never read a Transformers comic, get this one.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It's Generation 1. It's not like Beast Wars or any of the other iterations. It's literally
the first issue alone, there's more emotional relevance than, any other comic or any other Transformers comic, but just comic I've read. Like we're talking like PTSD and loss of loved ones and all this crazy shit. And it's like, also there's
a ton of action,
robots, and here's action. It was very good.
Are the GoBots in this shared universe?
No,
Yes.
I wish.
Hopefully,
I would love it.
the rights are still pending.
Okay.
So that's what we've been up to this week. Unless Len has something he wants to talk about.
No, I don't.
Cool.
Who's your favorite Mulroney? Dermot or
Are there multiple Mulrooney's?
No, there's not.
Dermot or Dylan?
Well, there are.
I guess there are. Dylan and Dermot. Shit.
No, Dylan is not a
Dylan
Mulroney.
Dylan McDermott.
He's a
Dermot
I
Mulroney.
always
Trying to-
confuse them.
That's what he's trying
Damn
to
it.
do.
Dermot McDillon and Dilly McDuty. Who's your favorite?
Let's go on.
Let us go on. So what should we start off with? Do we do Ahsoka?
Sure.
Let's do Ahsoka.
Ahsoka! I haven't watched it.
That's not going to call it to you, right? Just yelling her name out like that.
So Ahsoka dropped. It was 8 episode. Damn it, I do that every time.
You said
It's been
episodes for the
8
issues,
I
too.
know,
I didn't
that's
expect it to go the other way.
Freaking
8 chapters.
8. Yeah. Oh yeah. 8 chapters. That's the
8
one.
pages.
We're in
And
the
it
pages,
just
one
wraps
episode
up
of TV.
last night, and it is one in a long line at this point of Star Wars television shows on Disney Plus. Let's just real quick go through. How are you guys enjoying the Star Wars television shows so far?
I think they've had diminishing returns for me, and it's gotten to the point where I really just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think I watched the most recent season of The Mandalorian out of more habit because it's the one I enjoyed as opposed to really like being invested in it.
Yeah.
And I've watched one episode at least of the other ones and was like, I don't care. And so I kept it going.
Okay. All right. No.
You know how people complain about the MCU?
You mean the MCU?
No,
I'm
not,
kidding. I'm
Not
kidding.
that complaint. How
The fatigue?
everything feels like it's an advertisement for the next thing, which I actually didn't share that sentiment
Yeah.
because they typically kind of reserve it for an after credit sequence that is not a part of the entire plot. So I think that's kind of like a false equivalency. But the shows are starting to feel like that.
Yeah.
These shows specifically are starting to feel like that. Like it's just kicking the big bad or the big conflict to another medium over and over again. Not the whole time. Basically, season 3 of Mandalorian on and all of these little.
Yeah.
It's kind of felt like big's coming, not here. Big's coming, something big's coming. Not this one though. Something big's coming, and it's like I love sequential storytelling, but I also love closure in pieces. Like there should be a jump on and a jump off point, not perpetual motion, because it does invite fatigue. No matter how good it or well it's executed, it's just like I start to feel like this sometimes when I'm on I'm reading a book long running, and it gets to the point where like if I forgot to read it 1 month, I might have dropped it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like on the edge of like show up soon, or I might just kind of drop the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian,
Hey.
same question.
The question, I have been, on the whole, enjoying the Star Wars shows. I have not watched all of them, like the, what is it, Tales of the
I haven't watched
Jedi, or
any
those.
of the
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
ones,
that's fine.
like kind of the side ones that aren't tied into the
live
ongoing
action
thing.
ones are the ones that connect
That's the
the
ones
most
we're
right
kinda
now.
talking
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there have been any of them that I didn't enjoy. Book of Boba Fett was a strong candidate
Yeah.
in some ways, but I still liked it. And yeah, I can't think of any that I didn't like. Some more than others. I am still as invested. Like Mandalorian season 3 is not as cool as Mandalorian season 1,
No,
but
yeah.
that's all right, you know. And yeah, so I'm digging it.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I feel like I have to caveat too. I'm still invested. I still like enjoy watching them, but if they weren't in front of me, I don't know if I would feel like I have to make sure that I finish this. I have to make sure that I get to it because I guess I'm starting to get bored,
Okay, sure. Yeah, totally valid.
which makes me feel sad.
Yeah, I can understand that. I am kind of I'm with both parties here. I am still enjoying all of it. I actively enjoy every episode. I never watch an episode of a Star Wars show and be like, man, you know, like that was a waste of my time. I can say that the same night that Ahsoka drops, the morning show drops, and I watch the morning show instead of Ahsoka, and I wait to watch Ahsoka the next day. I'm more actively involved in watching the morning show, which is an Apple Plus show starring Jennifer Aniston and
Reese
Witherspoon, yeah, which is very, very good show. So I'm just more actively involved in that. But then as soon as that's over, I'm like, ooh, Ahsoka. I'm watching Ahsoka. So I think there are peaks and valleys, but I've never hit a valley so low that I've jumped ship, or that I'm even tempted to. I'm just like, okay, well that was fine, yeah, but I'm not mad or angry at it.
No, I mean, I wish. Part of me wishes that it even elicited that much of an emotion.
Yeah.
Like if something I was really didn't like or really upset with, then at least that's something to like channel it in and describe. This is more just
Like kind of a malaise.
An ennui regarding Star Wars?
ennui is like sadness. It's more apathetic.
Yeah.
More just like
Okay.
yeah, I want to see how the plot finishes, but am I emotionally invested in it? Like, no. Everything that transpired during this season, especially in the last like 3 episodes, some of it was thrilling, some of it was just like mid, but I knew everything that was going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't. I was kind of. We will eventually spoil the show Ahsoka, but we'll let you know ahead of time. So, general thoughts and maybe spoilers for like the beginning of the season, but we won't spoil the last episode until we tell you. I felt when the show started, I was so excited. I was like, "Ooh, Ahsoka!" I was very excited, and then it started, and I was like, "Oh, Ahsoka! Oh, okay, this is good. This is good. This is good." And I was kind of teetering a little bit, but then the last 3 episodes, I was like, "Oh, I'm in. This is what I wanted." Rebels is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars, so I just love that show, and the fact that I got to see a bunch of those, even just the little bit of having Chopper in live action and stuff like that. I was like, it was that was enough to like set me a tingle.
Wait,
So-
Chopper's the droid?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All these different characters in live action, I was just tickled by. But on top of that, I thought that the last episode, for the most part, was a lot of fun. And it certainly built in a crescendo towards the end of the season. but I did have some problems with the show. You know, little Nick Pitts, like the fighting choreography felt kind of sleepy. Like for going from like even in this episode, Ahsoka is deflecting blaster fire, and you can tell that she's just doing this, and then they're just animating blaster fire so it hits them, as opposed to being like, you know, and actually feeling like she's doing something. She's
I thought
just like,
especially in this episode.
There's a weightlessness to it that is just so inorganic.
Yeah, it felt more like Firefly. The TV show Firefly, I could feel like even if they're driving something that's supposed to be hovering, you could tell that it's just going over rocks, but they're just editing out the.
I was thinking more along the lines of like if
you could feel the budget.
In other, so like let's compare it with, I don't know, one of the fights in Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. The way that those actors are wielding their sabers, there is a weight to it, and when it hits something, they push back.
Yeah,
including blaster fire. Like there's a hit.
Yeah, like
this
boom,
is
bum,
just
bum.
like and then maybe there's fire going. And like there's no concussive force at all that they're hitting, and it's just kind of like, I mean, you're hitting your marks. Congratulations, that's nice, but it doesn't.
At no point is anyone like working up a sweat.
It's not thrilling at all.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
as you said many weeks ago when we talked about the first episode, sleepy.
Yeah.
It's a little sleepy.
Maybe she wasn't catching on to the choreography, and they just said, "We'll fix it."
Wherever your saber
There's a
is,
lightsaber duel at the end of the episode between Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth, which is I don't think is a spoiler.
No.
And that
was great.
Very decent choreography
Yeah.
and very decent editing that hid the seams.
Yeah.
So why they didn't employ that for the entire 7 fucking episodes before, I have no idea.
Well, I was actually sitting there going, "Oh, we saved all of the choreography for the final scene."
But you could have even edited around it.
Yeah.
Well, I
It,
think
like-
the place where the choreography really doesn't feel like she's actually doing it is when they're going against something that isn't there.
Right.
Right. So when she was fighting a person, it's all right, to varying degrees. Although this fight was awesome, but then when she's just moving in such a way that blaster fire will be there, it's just like I'm moving my lightsaber into the path that the fire.
And
it's harder.
I feel like too it was an economy of story kind of thing too, because they did that like 4 sequences in a row. They did it over and over again during the climax of the show of this episode, and it was just like, I get it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of the show then? Aside from this nitpick, as you said.
Oh, like I said, it had been a slow going at first, but as it went and moved
as a
forward,
whole,
I started being like, "Oh,
you're into
here
it.
we go. Oh,
right.
okay, I'm getting jazzed a little bit." Yeah.
All right.
So,
and as a whole, you liked it.
I think it's great. Yeah,
Excellent.
as a whole, I
Yeah,
really, really enjoyed it. More than Mandalorian season 3, but again, I am more emotionally tied into the Rebels characters like Harrison Dula and Sabine Wren and Ezra, the Space Jesus. I was just like, I already have something going into this where I'm just like emotionally tied into them. Whereas Mandalorian, I've only had the 3 seasons where I'm just kind of like, oh yeah. And even then, I'm not really attached to Din Djarin. I'm just like, oh, he's a cool gunslinger guy. He's a Clint Eastwood type, like
You don't care what happens to him?
I do, but I'm not excited. I'm not like, ooh, I like this guy.
The only thing that I would like, the only thing that the bee in my bonnet is season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. They exist mostly within themselves. There are some plot threads that can be continued, but there is a closure of story and character, like a complete arc. With Ahsoka, it felt like a pre-show for a show or another movie.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I could see that. But
That's like the delicate balance of sequential storytelling, especially serialized, right? Like you're either constantly kicking the climax further, or like the big climax further down the road, or you have to figure out ways to create entry points and off ramps. There was no off ramp for this one season. It was just like a preseason for a movie they've already announced and another thing that they've already announced. It's like they're just building big, which is something that a lot of people complain about with the MCU, and I kind of get it. Like, am I enjoying the journey? Mostly.
Yeah.
Do I want some sort of closure in my storytelling? Absolutely. And I haven't gotten it yet. I know that Thrawn is a big bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Other than just everyone keep telling me he's a big bad guy,
Yeah.
there's nothing fucking special about him.
He's just a really good strategist.
I
It's
don't know,
basically his
yeah.
superpower.
And he has like the manner of a guy who's really good at strategy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got it.
I
Yeah.
bought it because everyone kept telling me, but there was nothing that happened in this episode that, or in this season, since
Like
he's been
a-
introduced.
Like a big strategic win over
Show
somebody.
don't tell.
or-
He was just
One of those
constantly
things where you're like,
react-
oh man, what a great plan that was. Oh, he really, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what,
I
though.
see what you mean.
What
Yeah.
he does do, which is not that, and that would have been really cool, but he makes moves
It's
and
chess.
explains that he is doing this
Yeah.
in a very master strategist kind of way,
Yeah.
you know?
It's like, oh, okay, they got my pawn.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, I want this person to go here. And
Yeah.
that will be exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
And then that's it. And
Fair.
like, I buy into the strategy, but yes, I would like to see him do something badass.
Yeah,
at some point.
they're building
Yeah.
and anybody that wants to respond to me with, well, you see, in the 3 other novels and the legends, he did. It has to be contained within where it's being told,
Yeah.
in order for it to be emotionally effective in the moment.
Yeah.
So
I think some big plan that came to fruition in the end here, where you're just like, oh, I didn't see that coming at all. What a cool plan. And it was just like, I'm going to
He's-
throw these characters at them, and they're going to sacrifice. And
he just talks slow and doesn't care about his stormtroopers. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fucking every bureaucrat in the Empire. So I need more to make me really. Why is the entire galaxy scared of this guy?
Yeah.
And that was not in this show at all.
yeah.
Now, I think to your point of it not having closure because of the announcement of the movie and the other shows, I'm all right with that because I'm like, oh, this is part 1. Now, that being said, this could have used a little more of an ending at this story. And I think the final scenes are what they thought of as an ending that also leads into what's coming. But it didn't have quite that impact of closure, but I'm okay with
should
it.
we spoil? Should we
Well,
do spoilers?
before we do,
Yeah.
because I don't want this point to get lost if anybody gets away from the spoilers. How many times have we talked about like the last page reveal of something, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Am I supposed to know what the hell that is?"
Right, yeah.
That's the entire last 5 minutes of this show.
Oh, you thought so?
I had to look up what the hell a mortis god was, and what the brother and the sister are, and and what those mountain, like all of that stuff. That's like a tweak or a reveal or like a wink, wink. Has no context in this show whatsoever.
I can't wait to do spoilers because I want you to explain everything you just said to
Yeah,
me,
that
because I
would
don't
be
even know what you're
cool.
talking about.
I have a. Yeah, neither
So
do
we'll
I.
go into it. I wanna know.
General comment, if I could, before we get into
Yeah.
spoilers.
Is it just about like candy? Or...
It's about generals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
So
Hard workers.
sometimes,
Yeah.
and sometimes to the good, and well, Thrawn's a general, isn't he? So anyway, I liked it a lot for it being some Jedi shit.
Oh, I like me
right?
some Jedi shit.
Right? And that's something. The Mandalorian is cool. Andor is cool. But you've got some hints of the Force at most.
Yeah.
And there's no Jedi shit. And yeah, from scene 1 where we see the ship going through space, like imposingly and very real, I'm like, oh, this is what
Star
I'm into.
Wars.
This is Star Wars, right? And the Jedi is the Jedi are the coolest part of Star Wars, right?
For me, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing that sets it apart from, like, it is a rich universe other than the Jedi, and there are many unique things, but in terms of really setting it apart from other science fiction set in space,
It's
in
more
an alien-
fantasy than science fiction.
Yeah, space fantasy, right? But it's the Jedi that do that, right? Everything else can be found in some variation in other space stories.
There's
you know?
some people that go a step further than what you're saying and don't believe it's Star Wars unless there's mysticism.
Oh, no, I think it's still in the same universe. But if it's not what you're looking for, I'm okay with that too.
I'm not
you know,
talking about
yeah.
preference. I'm talking about denying
Like
that
it is not Star
Wars.
No, if it says Star Wars at the front, and the people that make Star Wars made it,
Yeah.
then it's Star Wars. And So I really liked that. You know, I liked seeing. No, I don't mean that as a flippant answer. I mean, like,
No,
this is
yeah.
the
No,
I didn't
case.
say it was.
Yeah, I like seeing the Jedi, even the in some cases less gripping plot than Andor, but it's got Jedi and story elements are a part of the story too. You know, so I really liked that, and I'm curious to see what happens with that, and I hope we see more of the Jedi shit in the upcoming stories.
I do like me some Jedi shit.
Yeah.
All right, spoiler alert. We're going to talk about the ending of Ahsoka's episode 8.
Hey, wait a second. You had a question
Did I?
that is really non-spoiler.
Okay, great.
Do you want to know what that question was that you had?
Yeah.
It was the 2 lightsabers.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I did ask that question.
And I don't know. What do you guys think? I think.
Well, ask the question again.
Yeah, ask the question again.
Why doesn't every Jedi have 2 lightsabers?
Because
I
not
think-
every
yeah.
Jedi is ambidextrous.
Oh, that makes sense. Or it's just not their chosen style, right? Like, they might. There's probably pluses and minuses, right?
Yeah.
Like, the plus is you have 2 lightsabers, and the minus is that
you might cut off anything.
you could. That's also a risk with regular lightsabers.
true.
Also-
One lightsaber.
Also, I presume your choice is also based on how you choose to use the Force. So there are like you wouldn't be able to force control or move or something maybe with another hilt in your hand. So that would be their secondary weapon.
Yeah.
There's probably some Jedi that use. It's a big world. They probably have some Jedi that have used blasters and a lightsaber.
Well, we got Sabine Wren blasting it up and lightsaber. And up.
Did Luke ever
And
use a
one of my-
blaster after he had his lightsaber?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, because he was pretty shitty with it for a long time.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
One of the other things I liked about this show was when we find Ezra and it's time for shit to go down, and he's just like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't need a lightsaber. You keep yours."
Yes.
He's like, "I got the Force."
And
Yeah.
then he immediately
Like,
makes one.
This guy's bad at which, But I think also you might be able to train in certain ways that are just better with one, and that's what you're good at. I put it to you thusly: 2 swords exist, right?
Yeah.
Swords,
true.
you could have more than one,
That's true.
but that's not how they are often portrayed. People
true.
just use one sword.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
If you could give a lightsaber to any other character in fiction,
Oh,
Doctor Doom.
that's
Dr.
fucked up.
Doom?
You say it's fucked up?
Yeah, man, he's a bad guy.
He's misunderstood.
All right. He does think that.
Okay, John Byrne.
Who would you give?
Snoopy.
Jesus Christ.
Snoopy. And what is your reasoning?
You know
for
what?
this?
I want to see Snoopy with a lightsaber,
That's pretty
man.
good
He
reason.
would be major badass.
Hobbs, but the actual Hobbs,
The
not
stuffed-
not the just
Like
the
the
stuffed
stuffed
animal.
animal
Just
Hobbs?
the stuffed out,
Interesting.
sitting there with a lightsaber at it.
Quick side note.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Bill Watterson came out with a new book?
Yes. I announced it on this show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did.
a few
we
months
were
I
ago.
have it in the
that.
shop.
Do you really?
I do.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cool.
The Mysteries.
Is that what it's called? I thought it started with an O.
I don't know. I
Shoot.
forgot.
But yeah, Bill Watterson of Calvin and Hobbes created a new book.
So,
Spooky.
what's your answer to the lightsaber fictional character question? You want to see
I said
Spider-Man?
Dr.
What do you-
Doom.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I totally forgot about your initial answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take it seriously, too. You know who would be cool with a lightsaber? Data from Star Trek. Be pretty badass, I think. Oh, no, can't use the Force.
Yeah, it'd be a waste.
I mean, still be
So
pretty
wait,
good with
every
that.
person we give it to has to be able to tap into the Force?
Well,
Well, I
yeah.
would think that's the,
Then it would be a waste for Hobbs. Must
Yeah.
be organic.
Who's really cool with a sword? Voltron?
No.
Be pretty cool. Like if it's a Voltron-sized lightsaber.
Wait,
Godzilla.
Oh, he's another robot.
Can droids not tap into the Force? What if they're artificially intelligent?
I think they should be able to. In fact, I think the treatment of droids in the Star Wars universe is pretty
Problematic.
fucked up too.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really cool if they revealed that a droid could use the Force and is tied into the power that binds and connects all things. But yeah, I don't think that's ever been shown, has it?
Why do
Yeah,
I
I don't
feel
think
like
so.
that is a question that is asked in the Dark Droids series that's going on right now in Star Wars comic books?
Didn't read it.
I don't know why you feel that way.
That's a good question.
I mean, we know that cyborgs can.
So the things that you were looking up at the end of Ahsoka,
looking up.
what were you talking about?
Spoilers.
Okay.
We're getting into spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
So Balin, you see him on a cliff.
A big hand, right?
Those statues are Mortis gods, I believe it's called.
Oh, I did not know that.
which are the
The Mysteries, it's called.
Very cool.
purveyors, controllers, or whatever of the world between worlds.
Oh, that world has
okay.
purveyors?
And it's I guess so. Man,
Interesting.
this is
All
like
right.
deep fucking lore in a
Yeah,
cartoon from 10 years ago. I don't know,
All right.
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, see, I didn't even think to look it up. I was like, oh, there's some big statues there. I wonder what that's going to be all about.
I mean, I
you know?
kind of looked it up after the entire episode where she's in a no space with Anakin.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Huh.
well, maybe I should. They're clearly referencing very specific things. Maybe I'll look it up.
Oh, so you knew going into this episode already what a
I
Mortis
knew.
God was. Is
Well,
that
like
what it is?
I didn't really look it up at the point, but I did see somebody was just like, "And Anakin now is the Mortis God." I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" So I did look it up,
I gotcha.
and I still don't really know what that is. Other
be
than
fair, it sounds
there
like
are three
you're
and like light and dark and well, I mean they're introducing it, and they're introducing it in the most opaque ways.
I was intrigued though.
Yeah.
I was like,
I didn't know
I
what
wonder
any of
what
it meant,
those
but I was
giant.
like, oh.
Yeah, like I want to find that out.
I'm going to find that out
yeah.
later.
Yeah.
The statues, and then I guess the owl means something too that she sees.
It did seem like a
And
meaningful owl.
It seemed like a meaningful owl.
Yeah. Len, there's meaningful owls in this. You should watch it.
Ooh, is that the owl from the Land of Oz?
Worf
Oh.
with
He
a
didn't
lightsaber.
identify himself.
Robert Monroe Jr. is in the chat. First of all, saying, I pre-ordered
Oh.
Watterson's The Mysteries and it should arrive on Tuesday. He then continues, Worf with a lightsaber would be interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
See, Worf would
I think he'd
look
be
like
too proud to use one.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he uses
I would
swords.
actually like to see
His
Geordi.
Geordi?
Geordi with a lightsaber. That he would be the more sort of cerebral force
I
wielder.
think
Or Jahora.
we would all have fun watching
Len.
Riker deal with a lightsaber though,
No.
because he was
Yeah.
using it as a blunt force instrument.
Let me
Len's
just,
off in his own.
Let me just.
He's
stay
in the
here
world
with
between
Jahora.
worlds. Thinking about Ahura.
Mirror, mirror, Jahora with a lightsaber.
I mean, Spock would be pretty good too if we're going.
Yeah,
What color is the
'Cause he's-
lightsaber,
'cause he's
Len?
naughtier.
Len, what color is the lightsaber?
She have a goatee.
It'll be purple.
Purple. Interesting.
If any woman could rock a goatee, it would be Jahora.
What'd you guys think about the zombie troopers?
I thought they should probably have left them more quickly. They were like, oh, they're getting back up. They're continuing to fight us. Let's keep fighting them, even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
it's not working.
They were
Yeah.
just as ineffectual as normal troopers.
yeah,
They just kept coming.
Yeah.
And actually,
they
one of them
slowly just did
started
this.
hamming up Sabine.
And Ezra.
Yeah,
if
that's
I understand
true.
your
They were
meaning
both,
of
they were
hamming up.
both down and yeah,
In the ham.
yeah,
Yeah.
down in the ham.
Yeah.
They were down in the ham. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that fight was kind of fun, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, like undead stormtroopers. That's kind of fun. I like that a lot. And we got to see Sabine finally use the Force.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Pretty well,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, she was real handsy with it.
Yeah.
I think this honestly, I think the show had very high highs and real mids. It was
better than low lows.
It was
That's true.
yeah, no, never at any point did it become like I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah, it was just
but there were a
nonsense.
couple times when it was just like, oh, I'll catch up on it later, I guess. Like there was no. I struggled to find the immediacy to experience
Sure.
this show, like I have other appointment television shows and streaming or not. So yeah,
see TV.
it's just it was for me it was like a really solid B minus.
Oh, yeah, all
B
right.
minus is not
That's
a
pretty
bad
good.
grade.
Yeah.
No, I did
That's
not.
cool.
I did
Yeah.
not dislike it, and I feel like if it was purely mediocre, then I would probably have a lot more negative things to say, and it wasn't like bad. It was just like okay and there's gonna be a point when I don't want to ask okay and anymore, and I'll just stop.
But you haven't reached there yet, so you would be. You're
Well,
all
yeah,
in on
I'll
another
check it out.
season.
Yeah, I was trying earlier to compare it to like season 1 or 2 of Mandalorian. They had full story arcs, and they ended in a way where each season ended in a way where it's like, oh, if this is the real end, then I'm emotionally satisfied. These newer shows aren't doing that.
You know what? Your points about shows coming to an ending in each
Some
season.
sort of ending, yeah.
I think with Star Wars in my brain, the reason I don't have quite that much trouble with it is because they've always been called episodes. And so it's always something else happening in a further episode, blah, 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 blah. And so it's very episodic, obviously. And so my brain is trained, whether it be a movie or a TV show, I'm just kind of okay with the, and then, okay, that happened.
You mean like
Now
because
what?
the second one in the original series was
even
not...
Kind of ends kind of like this one, like this season does, you know?
I accept, but also slightly reject that premise because even within episodic storytelling,
There's still
you should have 3 acts and some sort of sense of closure to recycle that emotion. A really good comic book is a good example. Usually, a single issue comic book is mostly first and second act, but they still will do like a cliffhanger or some sort of closure to either hook you for the next one and make you feel like you didn't waste your time. It's a lot of rising action and then a cliff. With a TV show, like a procedural, you'll have like the murder, the investigation, the whodunit, and then maybe there's a couple of emotional beats between the characters that will progress you to the next piece, but there still is a full story within, even though it's episodic and sequential. So there should always still at least there should be that feeling or that sense of reward that you've gone and completed a journey, even if there's dangling plot threads.
Well, I think they probably meant that as Ezra Bridger getting home.
Yeah.
Right? And which he does while walking off of a shuttle in full Stormtrooper armor, despite being able to take his helmet off at any time. Like, why would you walk out of the ship like that?
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good point.
But
take
he
the
did.
helmet off, yeah.
Right, like
Take off the whole costume.
Right.
Just walk out of the ship,
Yeah, I
not
don't know.
dressed as a
He didn't have,
stormtrooper.
he didn't have to fly dressed like a stormtrooper.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Also,
God damn it.
also too, is there a what's the relationship between Ezra and Hera?
She is like not his mom, but kind of like his mom.
Okay.
He joined the Rebels crew when he was, I would say 13. And she and her husband, or not
Kanan.
husband, but yeah,
Kanan,
Kanan,
her baby daddy.
were kind of like surrogate parents to him. So yeah, them finding each other at the end, I even got like,
Not in this show. I didn't know what their relationship was. Just
No.
you,
yeah,
and then that's it.
yeah.
I was still.
But with the
moved
context
by
I just
their-
gave you that I knew, I was.
No,
Yeah.
no, I get it.
Yeah,
It's just like if that was going to be the emotional hook of the entire season to kind of keep you invested, maybe apply a touch more context because there was opportunities.
Yeah.
She was telling her son
Yeah.
a story earlier in the season,
Yeah.
and she did not really talk about her relationship with Ezra, just like, oh, like that story that you told about Ezra. Yep.
Yeah.
And then it ends. Like they don't seed these things that you're supposed to hang on to.
Right.
They just expect you to have done all the homework, and I think that that's a little
Well, yeah, the thing
silly.
that you said when we talked about the first episode still holds true. Is that this is Rebels season
five, whatever.
It is another season of Rebels, as if you had watched all the other animated seasons of Rebels. They do not do any work to catch you up. You are 100% correct.
I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I also think it's an incredibly limited thing. And
Especially
that's
since
not-
this is probably one of their most anticipated shows.
Yeah.
Everyone was really excited about, as far as I knew, was very excited about the Ahsoka show. And I feel like if all they know her from is the other TV shows, the live actions, then they're missing all the context that the animated shows
But
introduced.
even the context that was introduced in just those one-off 2 appearances felt more holistic and organic than her entire television show.
Well, I think you're very right that they could easily and should have mentioned Hera's relationship to Ezra. I get the sense that she cares about him and they were part of this group that
Yeah.
I don't really know what the dynamics of that group
we're
were.
well
family.
versed. We're well versed in how entertainment's supposed to work. So I think sometimes we take shortcuts and they must mean something to each other. But I don't think that
Yeah.
that's necessarily should be a crutch for the whole show.
Well, no, I mean,
right?
they could have
like do the
intensified
work
that
exactly
a lot,
Yeah.
and really easily, like you said, like just one thing in a couple of scenes where Hera's like, you can't go after Ezra, but I would like it if you could because he's like a son to me from before.
For her to just express what this means is it's you know what, same thing with the conversation 2 episodes ago between Mon Mothma and Hera. How real is this threat? Let's just say be prepared. Like, no. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Like
Prepared for what?
this is an opportunity for you to tell me how much bad would happen,
Yeah.
and you skip it
Yeah.
because you're all acting obtuse or too cool.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, it's I'm enjoying this, but it's poor storytelling.
It sounds like it's the Star Wars shows trying to have the cake of the Star Wars movie and eating it too.
Maybe.
Because with the Star Wars movies, you can maybe get away with that because
there'll probably be movies or shows to explain it.
Well, yeah, but the general conceit is that everybody going in has watched the movies. The shows are so spread apart, you know.
Well, especially being a completely different medium, and
a lot
aimed
of
at a
people
different
skip
audience.
animated
Yeah.
shows.
And they came out a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah. I thought it was really cool when Ezra got his lightsaber though. That was cool. You know, that was awesome.
Oh, that was a cute little thing. So I read High Republic. What was it called? Do you remember the
Shadows of the Starlight.
something like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
Shadows of Starlight. And they actually mention the High Republic takes place about 250 years before the saga of Skywalker.
The High Republic.
Yeah.
I thought it was saying like High Republic.
No. And
It was a big part of the comic
And
series
then-
though.
Hey, puppy.
so about 250 years before, they used to make really ornate, beautiful, golden lightsaber hilts. Like everyone had their own hilt. There were actually lightsaber like whips back then. So they actually mess with the technology a little bit more than I'm used to in the current Star Wars era. But they also explain how they go from being so ornate and gorgeous to kind of just, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sci-fi.
Blunt.
Utilitarian. Yeah.
Utilitarian. That's
Utilitarian like they are now, just like chunks of metal put together.
What was it? What was it? What was the reason?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for you.
All right.
But they
Tell me
do
later.
talk about Huang.
Yeah.
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang, thank you. The Hu Yang, the bot who trains a lot of the
He's like 10,000 years old,
younglings.
isn't he?
Yeah, so even back then, during the High Republic, he was still around,
That's cool.
which was kind of cool. It was just a cute little. I just like how these little things tie into each other. That's all.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, speaking of tying in, the stuff at the end, we've talked about the Mortis gods, but not like what happened. Like, I didn't expect Ahsoka and Sabine to stay there
Yeah.
I
at
did. I
all.
did.
Oh, really?
Oh, fuck yeah, man. They kept, they talked about getting home in time together. I'm like, you've said it so many times. Just rule of fiction is you're not going anywhere.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Like it was, yeah. But I'm glad that it wasn't all three of them. So like that balance,
Yeah.
totally cool with it. But yes,
And
just like-
I assume,
because of all the things that they announced,
yeah.
Oh,
there
I
was
haven't
no
seen-
other. Well, they announced a movie when like
Like a
2
while
years
ago.
ago.
Of what? Of,
The
like an Ahsoka
Filoni
movie?
Favreau universe.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
the stuff.
You know
that
about
this
this.
is all. Yeah.
Because
okay,
they
yeah,
announced a movie like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I know he has to get away. I know this has to happen. Like they
Well, see, I knew he had to get away, but I really thought that they were gonna like catch that hyperspeed bubble, if that's something you can do with hyperspeed. But so I was really shocked. But I think now they're there on this planet that is of some import to the Force or whatever, right?
Peridia.
And whatever, what's his name, Balin Skull.
Yeah. Oh,
who
I'm sad that
unfortunately
he's
passed away, and
away.
we don't know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. Yeah.
I imagine they're going to recast him, but like
I
I kind of really loved him.
He
in
was
the show.
great.
He was probably
really
the
great.
best part of the show.
And I was so curious as to what his actual plan was. And I also really liked his Padawan.
Yeah. Oh, did you notice her lightsaber hilt looks very similar to Ezra Bridger's, which Hu Yang said was very similar to his master's, right? Like he had it. So I wonder if that was intentional. That last piece that he puts on, that's like a silvery hilt
yeah.
thing. She holds it up and shows it, and it's
Oh.
the same, or
No
it looks
kidding.
the same at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
distance.
Interesting.
So yeah, I wonder if she like killed his master
No.
or
Oh
something.
no, no, we know
how he died.
We know how he died.
Oh, maybe she just found his lightsaber.
Yeah.
And Anakin, I thought that was great. You know, we're seeing him after the events.
I didn't
of-
know what that meant though.
Nothing.
In which case? What do you mean?
I
At
mean,
the
At
end?
the end here, where he's just
Oh,
like,
who
oh
knows?
yes, I'm on the planet here looking at you.
It
It's
was just, you
it's
know, like
watch-
Force
so-
Ghost style.
The one is just her master never truly left her. He's there. I still can't get over the fact that he murdered like 42 babies.
Yeah.
So like all of this like
Yeah.
character reconstruction is kind of bothers me a little bit,
But he
I
found
get
redemption in the Force. And
it. He
in
found
their
redemption
reality,
in the Force, but that doesn't mean that he should be forgiven by the universe.
But I mean, maybe it does, right? Maybe letting go and forgiveness is of great importance, and
Dozens
in
of
their,
children.
Yeah, I mean, where do you draw
By
the line,
hand.
right? Is it a certain number or right? Like there is
I feel
value
like
in
fiction-wise,
moving
it's pretty bad.
past. There is value in moving past, and
Yes.
also in their reality, there is known existence after death. He himself has died and is in that existence.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe those babies continue to exist as well.
So, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this, but I'm curious if anyone else has any ideas. At the end of Return of the Jedi, we see an older Anakin ghost, right?
Not anymore.
Yeah,
Oh,
they changed it. Yeah.
So it's always like this young Anakin?
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that they could look like whatever anyway, but yeah, they in the special edition, it's him.
Well, I'm not quite sure how the World Between Worlds works, so I wasn't quite sure.
Dave Filoni will never explain it.
Okay, cool.
He's
Yeah, who
actually
knows?
literally said that he'll never explain it. It's not.
It's a MacGuffin.
It's not
Well,
time travel, and
Deus
it's
Ex
not.
Machina?
And you owe it. It's something. The only thing he was like, it's not time travel, and the only door you can enter and leave from is the one that you came in. So
I mean,
you
I
can't,
assumed that
like-
it was some sort of Nexus reality.
basically,
where
but it's like for
So, like, in my head, that Anakin could have just been somebody, like a version of him that exists only in there and isn't quite.
but the context of everything he knew is not
right,
that.
because he's fully aware of his all of the time that after he looked like that. In that instance, I came out on the side that I think it's a Force ghost, right? And even though he didn't have the shimmery blue stuff, but then seeing him at the end of this episode with that, and I wonder if he will appear more on this
I think he
highly
will.
Force
I do
important.
like seeing
So
the
they-
actor.
I do too.
Yeah.
They set it up in 5 different ways during this show. The fact that like he made 20 of those recordings for me, like he's back.
Oh, I mean Force ghost style. Like,
also
I'm going to
to-
give you some knowledge.
Also, to him being in that space between
Why
worlds
are
or
you
whatever the hell,
shaking your head?
'cause he's so unengaged. In that space between worlds, he is like a caretaker, not I'm just here for the day.
Oh, he's there all the
That's-
time.
I got the impression that that's his home. That's
Oh.
where he is being. Maybe it's a punishment. Maybe it's a commitment or whatever. But he be there.
Oh, I thought he was
Because
just
he
there
had-
to see Ahsoka.
He had autonomy and control of the things that were happening to her. That was his house. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a possibility.
Narratively, that was his house. He was the
I didn't
owner.
get that, but yeah.
The way that the scene was constructed, he was the owner and the driver of things that happened to her. So he owned that.
You don't think any Force ghost could do that in the world between worlds?
I don't know if they could.
I
but
don't know either.
In the context
They
of the show, that was his space, and he was teaching her in it. He was
Oh, for sure.
controlling it.
What I
So-
thought was neat, and I had seen this on a behind the scenes thing, was, she's walking on a path that goes on behind her and spirals around in different places, whereas his ends.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. And
That's
so that's
interesting.
when they're fighting each other and he winds up slicing through the thing that they're standing on. That was actually at the dead end of his life. So he slices that short and then that's when
Yeah.
she falls.
It's
That's
just
cool.
kind of
It's
like
a nice little touch.
Yeah, it's a nice little.
it's
time.
like an in-between thing. But him being a Force ghost, I mean, it felt to me that's his home. That's where he does his work and has to keep control or care of whatever that thing is.
Gotcha.
But, he also pops out and like sees how she's doing.
Oh, he's
Gotcha.
one with all things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We have seen that in the Rebels cartoon previously. We've been in that
That
space.
The world
space,
between
yeah.
worlds. Between worlds.
The World Between Worlds. I think so.
I think I do want them to keep using him.
Yeah.
But I would really love there to be some sort of conversation about the horrible things he did and where he is headspace wise to either redeem or recompense for it or some sort of commitment, because it's not just like I'm responsible for blah, blah, blah. They explicitly show him about to murder children and the fear in the children's faces.
Yeah.
Well, it's not any different because we see it. Like his action is the same regardless.
I mean, the director, the camera is God's eye. They showed us the fear in the child's face and the hilt.
right.
They wanted you to not be okay with it,
Yeah.
and I don't think
Right.
that we should ever be okay with it.
No, yeah. No.
I mean that's fine. You
But
can think that.
but the continuation of his character, I
Yeah.
don't think it should stop. I'm just
Right.
saying I think that it's something that narratively they
Yeah.
should address.
Well, how long has it been? Right, like 20-ish years.
30?
Is that what
30,
it is?
I guess, yeah, 30-ish.
30ish,
Okay. So
25.
I'm not quite sure when he died compared to about 30 years until he died, right? And then there's the time between him dying and then.
Oh, this
now.
is maybe only 5 years after his death.
Is it? Okay.
This is like 5
Yeah.
years.
I always lose track of the
Yeah, like
actual numbers.
they're somewhere in like the 5 to 8 years after the Battle of Yavin.
I mean, I would assume he's contrite. You know what I mean? Like he has, by embracing the light side of the Force.
Show me.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it a part of the story because I think that's rich with story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
just, it's fine.
Yeah. Yada yada yada.
I have a question
Baby murder,
too.
yada, yada.
Why can't he fly? Right? He could stop that ship in Obi-Wan. They can force jump. Why can't he just carry himself around with the Force? Why not?
And there are people who do that in the High Republic. Avar Chris is one of the head Jedi at Starlight Beacon, and she's able to just like kind of hover and do whatever, you know.
Makes sense.
But she doesn't fly like Superman.
But
We
move
should
around.
move on.
We should probably move
Yeah.
on. So
Yeah.
I'm
Jedi.
I
sorry,
enjoyed Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I'm excited for more Ahsoka. I don't know when it's coming, but I'm sure it is.
They haven't announced shit. I don't know.
Another, like we said earlier at the top of the show, Gen V dropped on Amazon Prime, which is a tie-in show to The Boys. Now, Dylan, in the booth, you had asked me a question about it. There was an animated show? What was that called? Was it just The Boys cartoon animated series?
Oh, like the interstitial season of one-off stories?
Only one of those episodes mattered.
Which one was
Apparently. It's the Homelander one. Him and Black Noir had like a early adventure that like plot-wise was canon, but everything else was just like
if I watched it.
You watched pieces of it, not much though.
Simon
Okay.
Pegg did something with it, right? I think he did a voice or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Len,
Yes.
I've been missing talking to you.
I've been right here.
Are you a fan of The Boys?
Yes, I am.
Are you also a fan of Gen V?
I have seen one episode of it. Yes, I have.
Great.
That did not
didn't answer my question.
How did
Are you a
like,
fan of that episode?
How did you like episode 1
Almost
of
pointedly.
Gen V, now available on
Amazon Prime.
Amazon
Video?
Prime. I liked it. It was cool.
It just to me, honestly, it was like, oh yeah, The Boys.
Yeah.
There's more of The Boys. I like The Boys. Here is more of The Boys.
It
but
definitely
like
felt
college age.
back in that world. I think it again is having an interesting conversation about superheroes, about superpowers, and how you deal with them, how you cope with them, what they
do to you
in real life, what they do to you. So I think that was interesting. It was again another diverse cast without it being hit over your head about it. You know.
Oh yeah.
And
It definitely didn't hit you over your head.
Ah.
Yeah.
yeah, but it was there. It was there up front. You know. So it was fun. Like I said, it made me. I have to say that it did. It must have worked on me because there were definitely moments in there, and I know we're not spoiling it yet. There were moments in there where it actually got me like feeling like a little tense, like, oh man, what's gonna happen?
There was a scene in there where I was just like, I actually went, oh shit, like I was
Oh, me too.
surprised by the thing
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah,
Was it right at the beginning?
No,
Oh.
it was in the middle.
No, even though
Was
the
at
one
the
at the
club.
beginning was pretty.
Yeah. That was, I said, oh shit, or
It's
something to
actually-
that effect.
I knew that was coming. I knew that we were going to have an X-Men style. Someone's
Yeah.
coming into their powers, and
Oh
this family's
well, I knew
doomed.
that, but I didn't know it was going to be
Quite so. bleh.
That's my only real gripe with the show. It's just that The Boys sometimes gets it or gets it. It's nihilistic, and I don't appreciate spending that much time there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that.
It's like I really enjoy the show, but there's something about the comic is you start to expect awful so much that you're just waiting for awful to happen, and it just becomes a nihilistic experience as opposed to shock or awe or and it's just like I was just like, well,
When you
how
said
is this
there's
person
something
going to get
about the
murdered?
Comic? Did you mean the show, or were you specific?
But well, both. That's what
because
that's
the comic
what,
is definitely
that's what knocked me off
I
the
can't
comic
stand it.
early.
Same.
And after 3 seasons and now this, I'm like, okay, I get it. Everyone is gonna get destroyed. Great. Like I guess I don't want it to be nihilistic. And there was a couple parts in this episode specifically where it was like, what's the most terrible fucking way we can do this? And what's the most terrible fucking way they could die? And let's just wait for it. Like it was like just anticipating nihilism. And I was like, I don't really want to be in that headspace for that long.
I get that, but I did think that this episode because of its setting, because it's primarily set in a college. So it's dealing with younger people that are in the
second half I liked a lot more than the first half. It was like the getting there that was just, it was uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy it.
Well, I guess the lead character getting to college, you do get the sense of foreboding, like, oh God, what's going to happen?
Plus, you're kind of wondering what is the makeup of this show going to be, right? Like, which one of the people that we're being introduced to now are going to be regular characters? And it turns out none of them. Like, it's just an intro, probably. And like, does it take place here? I hadn't really seen any trailers, so I'm like getting the picture of the show, and that influences a lot of like, is this going to be a show that I'm into or not?
Eddie's in the chat saying, "Hey, howdy, y'all. Have you seen Saw X yet?"
Not
Speaking
yet.
of gory AF, he says, "I'm very excited to watch it. I've heard really good things about it."
You
Eddie?
suggested to watch it for this week, and I more or less refused to do so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Classic. The thing I like about this show a little bit more than the boys even is the boys is bastards fighting bastards with like maybe some hints of like they're okay here and there. I like this one a little bit better so far because I feel more emotionally tied to some of these kids, like the college age kids, because they're not bastards yet.
Right.
They may be on their way to being bastards, but like they still, of course, there's the whole element of like everything is for clicks and YouTube and all that other stuff. But that still doesn't make them evil. Just makes them some college age kids.
Sometimes I get negative flashbacks from the comic when it seems like they'll do something on the show just to do it. And I'm not
the boys
sure.
or this show?
Both.
I felt that way about the dick,
pulls from both.
the urethra exploding in the boys.
Yeah. You know what? The shock of that actually mostly worked for me though, because you knew it was going to go terribly wrong. You just didn't know how. Whereas,
and that is up there
in
the ways that it could.
Are we spoiling yet?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna spoil Gen V. Why not? 3 episodes have been out for a couple days.
Her discovering of her powers, I was just waiting for awful the whole time.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the show almost proved that wasn't necessary as a cold open, right? So like you knew something tragic, you knew she was stuck here, she has a picture of her family. Like it just feels like, not that they don't need to do it, but maybe that would serve better as later on showing after learning who this person is, as opposed to just like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes they bludgeon us with shock and awe instead of just trust us to like go on the journey.
Yeah, I guess.
Same with the sex scene in this episode.
I haven't watched the 3rd episode yet.
We're talking about the first.
I've only seen the first.
We're
talking about with the
Yeah, where are we all at? Are you
Little Cricket?
Little Cricket.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say, but I watched
I'm in
all
the
3.
first, yeah.
You watched the first.
Yeah, okay, but
I've watched the first 2.
For sake of this, let's stay with the first.
Sure. Okay, great.
Stay with the first episode.
I liked it a lot. I just was like,
I got the idea of the cold open more or less. You got to go there. I mean, you're introducing yourself back into the world. You're taking an experience that is a very traumatic experience for
fuck yeah, it is.
for women, and you are ratcheting it up 10,000 times, and it was.
I also think it's kind of a neat power.
It's an interesting power.
Just a bloodbender.
It's definitely interesting power in the way that she has to learn to manipulate it and work with it. It's kind of cool.
There's also a lot of levels there regarding self-harm.
Well,
like,
yes, which
she
they smartly give a warning about. Actually,
but like the last act of the first episode, she literally does cut herself for control, and then feels better. I'm like, oh, you're literally, your power is that you cut to feel and gain control. Like that is rife with story possibilities.
Yes,
there's a lot of really smart, really good things in this show. I just when it falls back onto the boys of it all, I almost like it less.
I hear you on that, but in that, it has to stay on brand. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, because that is what got. I mean, let's face it. That's what got the boys made.
But I also think that that's almost sometimes it's a problem with the boys. Like, all of these people are awful. I don't know if I want to spend this much time with awful fucking people.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
Like watching the Homelander kill someone over and over and over and over again for smaller and smaller reasons. It's just like, okay,
that's
I'm
why
torturing myself.
That's why I think, and I don't think they have announced it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't announce that this upcoming season of The Boys is most likely to be the final season.
I love endings.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But stop.
But getting Gen V out there allows them to stay in the universe, but present now perhaps a more
balanced,
nuance.
I wonder what the future of this show will be if The Boys ends in the next season or two.
I mean, hey, Fear of the Walking Dead stayed after The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
I can't believe there's a new.
That's a problem.
There's
another one coming.
Show?
There's 2 new shows. There's 3 new shows.
Jesus.
Oh, fuck.
Who's watching? Anyway,
so many people.
So I started watching this
Brian's
show.
here.
Yeah. Oh, hey, guys. And
welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much. What follows will be my 25-minute
Oh, no!
talk about. So I started watching this show. I don't think I'd seen any of a trailer. I thought it looked all right. I have not seen the show The Boys.
I was just about to ask you.
Never seen The Boys?
Have you?
I've never seen The Boys.
Oh, that's neat. Okay,
I read.
great.
I read like one issue of the comic a long time ago, and I was like,
it's 10 times
nuts
better
to
than the
this
comic.
shit.
10
That's what I've
times
heard.
better than the comic.
And what I've heard is that it's like the same events as the comic, but the perspective on them is very different.
There's actual character development and pathos within
cool.
those events.
Okay.
as
And I'm a
opposed to just
Garth Ennis
being-
fan. I
Are
was
you?
so excited for The Boys
And you
after
weren't
Preacher,
into it. Yeah.
and I was like, "What is this horse shit?"
Yeah.
It's so edgelord. I couldn't do it. Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to watching The Boys, but I never have, and it's not my main kind of cup
Your
of tea.
vibes.
Yeah, and although it is still superpower stuff, and I can get into it, but I also am not of the opinion that this is definitely what would happen in the real world. You know, that perspective on like, this is what it would be like if real people got powers. Everything would suck, and there would be significant drawbacks to every power. That's a possibility, right?
Yeah,
but
it's
it's also a possibility that that's not necessarily the real world of superpowers, right? So, and then this show started, and the way that she got her powers manifested, her parents were killed in traumatizing and grotesque, horrifying fashion. And I was like, oh, it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of these like, what if it all was like this kind of shows? Like, what if the worst thing you could imagine happened, right? And I didn't think I was going to like the show. And I really liked the show, right? I was really into it. As it progressed, they are not all assholes, right? And most of them aren't. There's something going on, which is not uncommon in a superhero show, especially one set at a school. So, although I was like, oh, Clancy Brown's in the show. Clancy Brown's not in the show.
Oh, no.
Right.
Bye, Clancy Brown.
Yeah. And I was disappointed that guy died. That killed her, because I was like, oh,
Golden Boy.
Yeah, he was like a cool and layered character. When they say he's going off to join the Seven, I'm like, well, something's getting in the way of that.
Yeah,
or
of course,
he'll join the Seven, but he'll still be in the story and so much, that kind of thing. But nope, not so much. Not in the present time, anyway. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say you see a couple flashbacks. But he was really interesting. But so is everybody else, right? The main character who looks like the main character probably is interesting. The woman that we start with. Yes.
Both from Sabrina.
Is that right?
The Chilling Tales of Sabrina.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool.
He's the cousin.
I think so.
I thought
And then
he looked familiar.
she's the best friend with the glasses.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And now she has powers over her own.
Sushan's the one who told me. I was like, oh my God, you're right.
That's cool. So yeah, as their relationships build, it's really great. They're all very deep characters already, or deep is not the right word. Layered is better.
There's at least 2 layers.
And that's layered.
Yeah.
Maybe even 1. They're interesting characters, and their interplay with each other is interesting. Jordan is very cool. People are not as they initially appear, in surprising ways and balanced ways, right? Like there's a character that does something in a later episode that it's like, that's shitty, and then it's like, oh well, they didn't realize that it was shitty, probably.
Yeah.
But they're also kind of, it goes back and forth a little bit.
Not too worried about it.
Yeah, and so I am really liking it. It's a cool story that does not go the way that I initially thought it was going to go, and I watched all 3 straight in a row.
I was thinking kind of like the way Buffy was set up to be sort of a dissertation on high school and puberty and all that sort of stuff. This felt similar to that, in that each of the characters, or at least most of the characters, are dealing with something real world. The trials and tribulations of being that age, of going to college and having to deal with a certain trait. Yeah.
All of their powers are obviously allegories for personality traits or traumas.
Yeah.
But does anybody ever have problems thinking about like the compound V of it all?
Oh,
Like,
I was
when
like,
does-
why are
when
these
does
people
this-
pissed that their
when
parents
does-
gave them superpowers?
When-
Like, why would that cause?
Because you injected a baby.
Yeah.
with
You
an
got
unknown.
superpowers.
And the baby could have died.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
From it.
I would do this to a baby, but if I were the baby grown up and I was like, oh, I have superpowers?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
I guess it depends on if my blood explodes my parents or not.
So
I
there's
guess
some-
it depends. Yeah.
But that she is not exactly what I'm talking about.
I know.
Because they were
I'm
they were
joking.
saying that like once that came out,
Mm.
they just assumed it would be a problem, and like they had very few suicides because of it. And
Yeah.
now not all powers are so great, right? Well, you haven't seen her yet, but it's not that great. But
I don't know.
yeah.
I think like, oh, that sucks for them. Like, oh well, their parents fucking submitted them to potentially a life of awful.
Yeah.
And it's just
For money.
for money.
Yeah.
Not because like altruistically, I want this
Like
baby
they-
to be
to
a
have
hero. Like,
superpowers.
no, they'll pay me to make my child a guinea pig.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's weird.
I didn't know that. Is that mentioned? Is this mentioned in the boys?
It's in boys.
That's
yeah.
this
The
is
boys.
the carry
Oh,
through
okay.
from the boys.
See,
yeah.
all I know about it is that there was an option to have a serum injected that could give your kid superpowers. I didn't know they got.
No, I think
money
we find
for
this
it.
out in the 2nd or 3rd season of the boys, or is
I think it's the second
We
season.
Yeah.
find it out in the 2nd season. It becomes public information in the 3rd.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone thought the superpowers were just superpowers, and then they find out, oh, it's
Right,
all
right.
from this corporation.
That's when they're like, it's not some gift from God. It's this thing. It's like, well, who cares how you got it?
Yeah.
You still have superpowers. This is great, right?
Yeah.
Assuming they're great.
But yeah, I mean, that's terrible. They don't seem to deal with it as much as I kind of thought they would.
Yeah.
They were like, oh my God, now everyone knows, and now everyone seems kind of cool with it in the next show, Yeah. But maybe that's something that's going to be coming up in
And maybe I don't know.
season 4 of Boys.
Whenever that.
Well, we've
happens.
got some parent stuff going on with I forget his name. The
A-Train's
Golden Boy-
dad?
Yeah. Or A-Train's son? Which one is
A-Train,
which one is A-Train?
You don't know. A-Train is the super speed guy from the 7th.
and
So
there's this
he
guy's
is
brother.
the guy that was mentioned in the beginning. That is
Yes.
the same guy?
Yes.
Okay, because I wasn't sure. He seemed to say that his son had the same powers that he did. And I was like, well, his son doesn't have super speed. So I wasn't sure. That happens later, but it's just
don't know
a
what's
statement that
happening
I
right
mistook. Okay, cool. So, yeah, that might come up if
Yeah.
there's significant parent story stuff
yeah.
happening. Yeah.
Has anyone read Rick Veitch's Brat Pack comic
Yes.
book?
I would
Veitch,
imagine.
Rick Veitch.
Yes.
Robert Monroe Jr. says it reminded me of Rick Veitch's Brat
it-
Pack. I've never heard of it.
No, me
You
either.
never heard of it? You've heard of it.
I haven't heard of
Because
it.
every time it comes up, you say, "Oh yeah, I always meant to read it."
Nope.
You always say that.
Nope.
You do.
He hasn't
Say
said it this time.
Nope.
Did he?
His
I
hat's
have no
on
idea
tight.
what this is.
His hat's on tight and the shoes on tight.
Yeah. Top and bottom.
Yeah,
Everything's
Brat
vegan in the
Pack.
middle.
Brat Pack is from like the 80s.
Yeah.
And it basically is this, to use your word, nihilistic look at the sidekicks of the superheroes.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
Black and White. Told you.
I've been to read that.
Black and White. It's a black and white comic book from the 80s. It's very hardcore. Probably it's not as boys as the boys, but it's where the
1990
boys.
to 1991, 5
Okay.
issues.
Yeah. But it it's out there. It's out there. But it now you would look at it as maybe a fun read. It's definitely at the time it stirred shit.
Interesting. Okay, I'll check it out. I know that the one cover is basically a Robin type character who's well known for his booty shorts.
Yes.
And he's like got his leg up on the sink and he's shaving his legs.
Oh, his legs.
His
yeah.
legs and there's blood coming out.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
he's, aerodynamics, JD.
That's true.
You gotta.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, if
he's
you're gonna be
the
jumping
there
in front
are
of bullets
runners.
for a billionaire.
There are runners that do that apparently. That will
yeah.
depilate
Yeah.
for that purpose. Yeah.
I think he's a
Um,
partner of the
so-
Flying Fox.
Noel, do you like the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just
Yeah.
getting kind of
I
samesies.
Yeah, samesies.
Yeah.
Samesies, but interesting, intriguing enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the third episode when I go
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah. Are you gonna even bother with the rest of the? You only watched the first episode.
I only watched the first episode, but I'll
like-
continue watching.
I'm committed to the boys. I actually really enjoy the boys. I'm
Mhm.
just I think I need the shoe to drop soon.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the Homelander can only be so fucking terrible so
Yeah.
many times for it to no longer have weight.
Yeah.
So I just need them to progress it.
Yeah, but I'll
Okay.
finish the season.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com and let us know what you think of the boys and or Ahsoka and I guess the Star Wars shows in general. That's it. We're done. Hey, Dylan. You're great.
Thank you.
And we'll talk at you later.
See ya.